Hello, hello. This is Kim Ades from Frame of Mind Coaching, and you have just joined the Frame of Mind Coaching podcast. Today, I have a very interesting guest. I found her. I've never known her before, but I'm sure we're going to become great friends. Her name is Christina Flach. She lives in California, and she is the president and founder of Pretty Girl Makeup. But that's not really why she's here, although I can't wait to learn a few makeup tips. She has a really fascinating story, one that I really want to dig into. She is no stranger to adversity and overcoming adversity. And given some of the adversity we're facing right now, I thought it would be a great idea to really get some of her insight about how she handled her own challenges along the way. Christina, welcome.
Hi, thank you so much for having me, Kim. How are you?
I'm great. So where are you exactly in California?
I am right outside of San Francisco in Marin County.
Okay, so
about 25 minutes north of the Golden Gate Bridge.
Okay, so is it hot there right now or not so much?
Oh, it's going to be about 70 today. It's pretty out, clear blue sky, and it's a beautiful day.
Okay, so I want to learn a little bit about Pretty Girl Makeup. So it's a business you run. How long have you been running it? You are also one of these people who, I don't know, does makeup for superstars. Fill us in.
Well, I'm the CEO and founder of Pretty Girl Makeup. I started in 1999. I'm woman-owned. I'm self-funded. I'm a celebrity makeup artist. I'm represented by Artist Services in San Francisco, New York, and Los Angeles. And I am very blessed to do what I love every day when I'm on a photo shoot or running my company. I started with lip gloss and lip plumper. And I've actually just revamped my website. So we've got all kinds of new products that I've repackaged and rebranded. And I'm really excited about it. With this epidemic going on, my photo shoots my TV shows and everything have been pretty much put to a halt. So I needed to figure out what plan B and C and D was going to be. So I revamped my photo shoot website, ChristinaFlach.com, so people could hire me to do virtual makeup lessons, on Zoom, like what we're talking on right now. So I've redone that. And then the Pretty Girl website, we've kind of changed the look of it and the feel. So it's a little more about, I've always been more comfortable behind the camera until about 2 years ago, but it's now my website's a little more focused on my photo shoots where I use my products. So that's pretty exciting. We just launched this week, and I'm really excited about it. And in fact, I'm sorry.
I have a whole bunch of questions. So number one is, you're good with makeup, but how do you go from being good with makeup to developing a product? Do you work with scientists, chemists? Do you have an idea? Like, who does the actual production for you?
So I did work with a chemist, and it took about a year to formulate the texture of the lip gloss, but then also the colors. And because I'm self-funded, I didn't have an endless supply of money. I wanted my colors, the shades of the lip gloss to look good on all my friends who are all different. They're beautiful and they're all different shades, their skin tones. So I tried it out on all my friends and I came up with my products and that's how it started. And then I got a publicist for my makeup company, and Yvette Masterson is my publicist for Pretty Girl, and she's been amazing. She's gotten me in a bunch of publications and on TV and with celebrities. And then my agent, Brandy Moore with Artist Services, books me, my photo shoot. So for example, I was in Los Angeles about a month ago before, the stay-at-home thing happened. I was filming a TV show with Isaiah Washington for Fox called Kitchen Talk, and it's coming out this month, and I'm really excited about it. It's a beautiful show. Isaiah's an amazing human and really interesting man, and it's a different kind of a talk show because like when you have people over, everyone's in the kitchen chatting. And so that's kind of what this show is. We've come up, we're in someone's home and they're cooking something that's their favorite, dish to share. And then they have really incredible dialogue over the cooking process and then them sitting down to the meal. So that was a lot of fun.
So anybody who knows me knows that I have a massive kitchen with a massive fridge and freezer because I'm always feeding people. And so absolutely my kitchen is the congregation hub of our house. So I can relate to that. So I want to kind of go back. So you've been through quite a lot. You have 5 kids.
I do.
One of them passed away.
Yes, Bo.
So tell us that story.
So about 13 years ago, I had twins, twin boys, Ben and Bo. And when they were 4.5 months old on Christmas Day, Bo passed away.
Just out of nowhere.
Out of nowhere. It was SIDS. We woke up Christmas Day opening presents, and the baby didn't wake up. And it was really devastating for my family. It was the end of my marriage to my kid's dad. And, it was really, really hard. I started taking, sleeping pills during the day for about a month to just numb my feelings, because it was just so incredibly painful, the loss of my son, and, just the shock of finding your baby, non-responsive. And so, after about a month, my friends kind of did an intervention and said, okay, enough. You cannot continue this wallowing in self-pity, get your stuff together. And I knew they were right. And, my friends make fun of me all the time that I don't know how to be in a bad mood. I mean, I get sad and depressed like everybody, but it just feels so wrong and foreign to me. Excuse me. And so, after that month, I decided to get back on my normal routine of exercising and hiking and meditating and going to yoga and, eating really well. I'm a firm believer in green juice and vinegar and water and supplements. And so I choose to wake up every morning in a positive mood. And I know it's not easy. There's days that I wake up and I just feel like, I don't want to get out of bed. I don't want to do anything. And then I went to a grief camp at Canyon Ranch. My friend Eva took me to grief camp, and she kind of fibbed to me and said it was a spa weekend, but it was actually dealing with my grief over my son. And then, what you're also referring to, I was married to Ken Flach. He was a professional tennis player in the 80s and 90s. He was #1 in the world. He and his partner, Rob Seguso, won Wimbledon, and they were the Davis Cup team, and they won a gold medal in Seoul. And we were married in 2010. We had 9 children combined. Wow. And we were madly in love and very happy. And my husband got bronchitis, which turned to pneumonia. We were with Kaiser Permanente here in the States. They were our medical insurer and our doctor. Their protocol is that you call the advice nurse, and then they determine whether you're going to come in to see a doctor or if they can, prescribe whatever over the phone. So my husband had been on prednisone for an ear infection, and his immune system had been compromised. So when he got sick, he was sicker than the average, person. So they chose not to see Ken. Unfortunately, his doctor, Dr. John Culbertson, did a phone call with him and prescribed cough medicine with codeine and an inhaler, and no antibiotic. So the problem is, if you take cough medicine with codeine and don't counteract it with an antibiotic and you have an infection, the infection's going to grow like a wildfire and take over your body. And that's what happened to Ken. Within 12 hours of him taking the cough medicine with codeine, he woke up in the morning spitting up blood. I rushed him to the emergency in San Rafael here in Marin County, to the Kaiser Permanente emergency. He was admitted. They took him back. He was spitting up blood. He was put on 3 different types of oxygens to try and stabilize his breathing, because he was having a really difficult time. The doctor pulled me aside and said that Ken wasn't doing well. And I said, well, fix him, They had tested him for sepsis, but did not give him an antibiotic for over 3.5 hours. So there's a golden window with sepsis. And, if you're given the proper antibiotic, you'll absolutely survive. But unfortunately, Ken did not get the medicine in time. And sepsis, really took over his body. and his arms and legs turned black, all his organs. So sepsis is a blood infection. It's a disease of the blood. So it, what it does is it shuts down all your vital organs. And so when that happens, there's no reversal. You can't turn it around.
So this happened in 2018.
Correct. In March.
It's still pretty new.
It is pretty new. Yes. It's weird with, with grief. It's like, it feels like yesterday or 1 second ago, but then it feels like so long ago. It's very interesting process.
So you lose your son in when, 2006? Did I get that right?
Yes.
And then you lose sorry, you were married at the time. Did you already have all your kids?
I had all my kids. My oldest, Melania, is 26. She lives in London. She's a fashion designer. Rose is...
But at the time, in 2006?
Yep, they were all, yep. The twins were my youngest.
Okay, so I just want to go back there for a minute. You lose your son. You're in a state of depression. Let's call it what it is. Your friends pick you up. You go to grief camp, and I want to come back to that for a minute, in a minute. Mm-hmm. And then you say, my marriage fell apart. So, like, what actually happened? Were you unable to communicate, or were you just too kind of lost in pain to be able to connect? Or, like, what happened?
That's a good question. Well, I think the marriage was it was pretty wobbly when the twins were born. And, after that happened, it just, something switched in me that I just couldn't feel for him any longer. And it was just, they say that 90% of marriages fail after the loss of a child. It's just either, I don't know why, but unfortunately ours did. But, the good news is my kid's father and I, we co-parent really well. We're very close, and we're still a family. We, we have chosen to be a family, whether we're, not married or not. Ken and I got married, and it was like there were the three of us, parenting. It was really a beautiful thing.
So I just want to go back. You go to grief camp. What happens at grief camp? Was it helpful, or did it make things worse?
No, grief camp was incredible. They had a speaker there, Rabbi Sherry Hirsch. She had written a book, I don't know if you're familiar with it, called We Plan and God Laughs. And it's really an interesting book because, I had a plan in my life. I had, gotten through this time, the divorce and my son passing away, and I had met Ken, and we were madly in love and happy, and my career was going well, and my kids were great, and, life seemed pretty perfect. Ken opened some restaurants. His kids had moved all out here. Everything was great. I mean, it wasn't perfect because nothing is, but it was pretty amazing. And so that was my plan, that we were going to live happily ever after. And, then he got sepsis, and, then he passed away in 4 days. And it was shocking, to think that my husband, this big, strong man, anything could take him down. I didn't think it was possible. Mm-hmm. He was Superman in my eyes.
So tell us more about what happened did you go to grief camp after your son died, or after Ken passed away?
After Ken passed away.
Okay. So were you, do you think, still grieving the loss of your son at that point?
I think it probably triggered that again. It probably brought back, that memory. I thought I had dealt with it, and my mother had passed away when I was 20. So, you think you deal with these things, but you really, you deal with them as much as you can handle at the time. So that's another thing with grief. Sometimes people, they can't emotionally handle it, and they need some time. I knew that the third time going through this, catastrophic grief of my husband dying, that I really couldn't go down that path of destruction. I really had to keep it together. So I renewed my faith in God. I was meditating more. I was working out twice a day, just because that kind of helped my mind. It was really difficult for me to sleep. He was an Ambien to me. So with him not being there, it was really, really hard. And then you start thinking crazy things when you're tired. Everything seems worse when you're tired.
So I just want to hear a little bit more about, how did they help you cope with grief? Grief camp, and how are you coping even now? I mean, things are weird out there.
That's for sure, right? So I think at grief camp, what I learned was that, no one's grief is worse than anyone else's grief. And you deal with grief, you can deal with it. And so this is kind of where I'm a makeup artist. I'm a CEO of a company. I never thought I'd be speaking about grief or any of this, but for sepsis. So I've become a sepsis advocate to raise awareness. And, with grief, it's a choice how you want to handle it. There's always going to be moments of sadness, periods of sadness, but I feel that, I have 4 children, that are, still growing and, becoming adults. And I don't have that selfishness to just wallow in my grief. So I've decided, even on hard days, to wake up, have a positive attitude, go, exercise, get dressed, put on a little makeup, try and be productive. I started a foundation after Bo died at the Northern Lights School in Oakland. My friend Michelle Lewis is the headmistress, and Northern Lights School is a private school for minority children that would not normally have an opportunity to go to private school. The school is run solely on grants and donations, and 90% of the students are on full scholarship. So I wanted, when a baby dies, especially, people don't want to talk about it. They want to pretend it didn't happen. And I didn't want that for Bo. Bo was a special little soul. And I wanted to help other children in Bo's honor to have an amazing educational experience. So I started that. And then when Ken was alive, he played in the celebrity golf tournament that Vita Blue puts on every year to raise money. The Giants, the 49ers, the A's, the Sharks, all these different athletes come and play in this golf tournament and raise money. This past October, Ben, my son, Bo's twin, who's 13, was on a hole and raised $35,500 for his dad and his brother's foundations. And, my son is so humble and just such a great soul. He was like, Mom, it's not a big deal. I played golf. I raised some money. And I said, no, Ben, you enabled 3 children to go to private school for a whole year. And that changes, families and lives and changes our community. And so I feel so proud of my son for doing that. I've obviously helped him to do that, but, he really, it makes him feel so good to honor his twin and his dad.
Sure. So you said something that made me laugh, which is I wake up, I put on a little makeup. My mother used to say, like, if you're feeling bad, put on a little makeup, you'll feel better. Right? Just put on a little makeup.
A little lipstick, you'll feel better.
Something, right?
Anything.
So let's circle back and give us a couple of really basic makeup tips. What are absolute essentials according to you?
Okay, well, obviously sunscreen, but
it's not that obvious.
Well, it needs to be. The sun is not our friend. It feels good, but you need to wear a hat and glasses. I love facial oils. I think hydration is really important. So eye cream is really important. So before I put on any makeup, I make sure that there's some face oil, some sunscreen, some eye cream. Concealer is heaven. Lighten. Everyone's got darkness under here. I lighten that up, filling in the brows with a little eyebrow pen, eyeshadow or pencil. Mascara is the greatest product in the world. However, it needs to be changed every 3 months.
That's good to know.
Yeah, no, that's a good one. There's so many great brands at, the pharmacy, or you can get an expensive brand, whatever, but change your mascara frequently.
Okay, that's a good one. And for women who are looking at themselves in the mirror, feeling, what happened? I'm getting a little old. Any recommendations, either mindset recommendations or actual makeup tips?
Well, I think, beauty really comes from within, and, we all say that, and people might say like, that's a crock of crap. But I do feel that if you're happy and positive, it's going to show in your face. And I think part of my job as a makeup artist, when obviously I have good makeup skills, but it's really important that I make my client feel good, because they're going to go in front of a camera, and sometimes they're sad, they're depressed, they're angry, they're in a bad mood. And I have to try to get them to feel as happy as possible before they get in front of the camera, because they can't, you know, your eyes, no one is that good of an actor that they can hide their real emotions. So
Right.
if I can get them a cup of tea, I do a little aromatherapy, I massage their hand with essential oils to just kind of get them in a nicer, happier place. That really helps. I think exercise is important. You know, I think that always get some fresh air, go on a hike. Mm-hmm. I know for myself that, you know, if I get in a funk or in a mood, I will turn on some happy music to just kind of like lift my spirits. I will put on a headset and go for a hike or a run, go out in the garden. There's so many things to be, you know, and I know that right now with this COVID, you know, 19, it is a very hard time. I am a people person. It is very hard for me to not be around, you know, my daughter's in London, you know, I'm not seeing my friends, or I can't be on a photo shoot. This is against my normal rhythm of life. Right. And so I try to FaceTime with friends instead of talking on the phone. It just connects you a little bit more. I've tried to make sure that, you know, I go out into my garden and pick some flowers and put them around. I light a candle. You know, I think of things that make me happy, my children, my friends.
And I'm curious, as a CEO of your company, you know, from your perspective, have you taken on a certain leadership perspective or certain messaging perhaps that you're sharing with not only your customers, but your team?
I just try to say, like, look, everything's going to work out. There's nothing to, you know, like, yeah, this time is awful and difficult, but what can we learn from this? Maybe we can learn to slow down a bit. Maybe we can learn to reconnect with our family. Maybe we, you know, for example, I redid my whole website, both of them. I'm trying to do something positive every day and to keep my mind stimulated. With my team, you know, I try to just, they're all positive. And, you know, actually I'm coming out next week with a hand sanitizer, because I think that's actually needed. And I'm able to, with my manufacturer, to actually facilitate that. So I'm looking forward to, you know, it's very frustrating to me that, you know, there's so many avenues to buy products, you know, Amazon, you know, the supermarkets, and we can't get a hand sanitizer. So if I can actually help my customers get some hand sanitizer, I'm really excited about that. So that actually just happened yesterday. So Monday, the manufacturer will have it ready for me. I'll have it up on the website and people can buy it.
So they buy it from the website and you deliver it to their homes?
Yes, correct.
Okay. And tell us again where you can be found. What is your website?
My website is prettygirlmakeup.com and christinaflach.com. And I'm on Instagram as well, and Facebook, and Twitter.
And Twitter.
And Twitter.
Okay. So last question. Are any of your kids in the house?
At the moment, no. They're at their dad's and one's in London.
Okay, I was going to ask, how are you managing to parent when your kids are kind of stuck at home? But it sounds
I'm actually going to go pick up my son. So my daughter Rose, she's a screenwriter down in LA. She's up. My son Nikolai's home from college. He's a golfer. And Ben, they had gone to Hawaii with their dad and had to be sequestered when they returned. So yesterday finally I could see them, and I picked Ben up. So he's in school right now, as is Nikolai. And so they're going to come, you know, it's easier to keep them all together in one place. And they're back actually in the home that we lived in when we were married. So, you know, that's a special place for them. It's different here, but I'm going to pick Ben up and Nikolai up after we're finished. And they'll come here and do like their school day. And then, you know, we'll have lunch and dinner, and then they'll go back to their dad's house. And so it's really a nice way that we're co-parent, that we're able to co-parent, and you know, the kids are with both of us every day. And so they don't feel, you know, quite so alone and isolated. I want this time to just be as obviously as positive as possible.
So basically they're going back and forth between homes.
Yes.
And that's it.
Yeah, pretty much. They go from the house to the car to the house.
Yeah. So I have 5 kids.
Oh,
and,
wow.
And they're between the ages of 20 and 26. Wow. And some of them are starting to get a little stir crazy. So it's just been a very, very interesting time. And yeah, I mean, grief is it's a big subject. And I think grief, when you have a loss of that magnitude in your life, I think it's like at a certain level, but I think a lot of people are dealing with some form of grief right now.
I think so as well. And so I think it's really important with grief. I have a theory that, my husband, my son, my mom, all my angels, they're up in heaven looking down on us. And when I thought about it, I know I can feel them. I feel them in this house. I can feel them. So I thought, you know what? How awful would it be if they were looking down on me or us and not able and seeing that I wasn't being my normal self, that I wasn't trying to make a difference in the world, that I wasn't trying to be happy and loving. And so I feel that the best way that I can honor them up there is to do positive things and to be happy and love, the world and my children and my friends and, my life. I have a beautiful life. Obviously it would be so much better if they were all here, but they're not. So I feel that the best way to honor our loved ones is to do something positive. I mean, I've kind of done, with my foundations and the garden that I started at Edna McGuire School. There's a Bo Friedman outdoor garden classroom. My friend Lisa Zimmer and I started that in Mill Valley, because I feel that children, the best way you can teach them to learn food, as you know, as a mother, is for them to grow their own food and pick their own food and taste it right off the vine. And so for them to have that experience, I just feel is so fantastic and important. So, I have chosen to, with the garden and then the educational foundations, that's how I'm choosing to honor them, and my husband with, raising awareness for sepsis. He had an amazing following because of his tennis career. And so I'm very blessed that people are willing to interview me like you because of, of my husband's accomplishment. So I feel it's,
I didn't interview you because of your husband's accomplishment.
No, but
I interviewed you because you were interesting, just so you know.
Thank you.
Yeah, Christina, I think, what you just said is really, really powerful. And it's like, imagine the people we love looking down on us, and let's work at making them proud. Let's work at really kind of finding our best selves and bringing that to the forefront. And I think that right there is a phenomenal piece of advice.
Thank you. I think so too. And it makes me feel like, every accomplishment, every interview or whatever that my children are doing or I'm doing, that they're like, look at that. They're because, I also look at it as, we all are talking about being grateful, but I am grateful that I had those 8 years with Ken, that I had 4.5 months being Bo's mom. I'm grateful for that time. I could be wallowing and crying about, I wish I had 50 years with both of them, but sadly that's not the case. So I have to just be grateful for what I did have and not for what I don't have.
And life is a big place, right?
It is.
We don't know what's coming next.
No, we have to just, we can make a plan, but we kind of have to go with the wave. It's like a wave and we're surfing. We kind of have to, if it's bumpy, you got to ride it. It'll even out again and things will get better. And this time inside, I guess I needed a timeout. The universe said we need a timeout. And I think that's what's happening. And we can, again, choose to do something productive or, drink and be miserable and cry and have hatred and all that stuff that's going to do nothing. It's useless and a waste of time.
I couldn't agree more. Christina, thank you for spending this time with us.
Oh my gosh, thank you.
Again, your website, prettygirlmakeup.com.
That's right.
Go look her up. Go find some hand sanitizer. We all need it. Thank you for sharing your story, and thank you for spending this time with us. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. It was such a pleasure. You're lovely.